What's up, Dragon Brood? So, for those of you that weren't aware, today Wizards of the Coast had a big presentation they did on Twitch, which had a bunch of people watch. I think it topped out at like 7 or 8,000 viewers. But they were talking about things that were coming later this year. And part of that was really, there was about a bunch of product announcements, which, that's news in and of itself. So, but that wasn't anything we really didn't expect. But the biggest thing was they're going to be opening up organized play again to the United States starting at the end of the month. I believe they said May 28th as an exact date. So now that starts asking the question, what does this look like for us? Like, what is getting back to gaming going to look like? A lot of us have just been sitting at home, and if we're lucky, connected with people and played through Spell Table for the last, 10 months. So what do we need to worry about? Like, is this going to be normal? What stores are going to be? There's so many questions right now. And sadly, I don't think there are a lot of really good answers. And before we go any further, let me please say that I'm not trying to be a harbinger of anything. I'm not trying to have any scare tactics. I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do. I'm just trying to raise questions and thought and awareness and, maybe open conversations. Which, by the way, if you want to further this conversation, feel free to hop over to my Discord. The link is in the description below. But just say like, hey, there's some things to think about before we just run off and play again. Right? Believe me, let's start first at the top. I definitely want to get back to gaming in a game store. Like, I haven't seen my friends and my regulars that were part of my life every week. I haven't seen them in over a year. By the time we get back to going to game stores and play any type of event, it'll probably have been, the better part of a year and a half at that point. That's wild to think about how long it's been since I've seen some of these people that I used to see every day. Well, not every day, but every week, that were part of my life regularly. And I'm sure other people are in that same situation. And honestly, we have to then ask ourselves individually, are we comfortable? Some people are going to be good to go and not care. Others are still going to want to wait longer. I'm going to be fully vaccinated here by the end of the month. So it's like, maybe I go. But if I do, what am I prepared to deal with and what am I not? Right? For me, it's going to be about, I'm going to go. I still want to see people, but I'm probably still going to mask up. I don't see a reason not to at this point. Plus, I'm not going to know who is and isn't fully vaccinated at that point. I'm not going to know what, outside factors or other people that may be in their orbit that may have potential issues or not. And I'm well aware I could still be a carrier even though if I'm not exhibiting any symptoms or it's not affecting me. And I don't want to put that on somebody else. So I'll probably still be wearing masks for a bit. Also, I have to think about the size of the event. Like, if we're doing something where there's let's say 12 to 20 people. Yeah, I'm probably okay with that. I've gone to the grocery store and just kind of dodged other people for the most part, and that's okay. But if the event is 50 to 100 people, do I still feel the same? I don't know. And that's one of those things I really haven't thought much about because, it wasn't really an issue. We kind of went, we know at some point in the future we will be playing games again at our local game stores, but now it's like, that's just a couple of weeks away. And this is why I'm having this video and this conversation, because I hadn't really thought about it that much yet. I think for myself, if the event's probably, like I said, 20 people or so, or maybe less, I'm probably okay with it, and it's not really going to make me bat an eye. And I'd be curious to see how many people even want to turn up immediately, since it'll be the first available weekend for people to do stuff. That in and of itself would be interesting, right? How many people or how many stores all on the same weekend are like, great, we're all going to run F&M, or we're all going to do some draft or cash tournament. There's so many things. We have no idea what's going to come of this. So this all stands to be pretty interesting exercise just from a social perspective. Now, the other thing I will say, I'm also not going to be out there yelling at people and pointing fingers and saying why aren't you wearing a mask or not or whatever. At some point, I'm just going to have to be okay with it. Right? We're each making our own decisions. If I'm going into that space, then I know there's going to be, pardon the language, knuckleheads that don't care to wear a mask or care about other people's. I can't do anything about that. I can't speak for them, but I'm also not going to stay at home forever. So I'm just going to make the safest decision for me. I'll probably still have hand sanitizer available or whatever. If somebody has grungy looking hands and touch my stuff or whatever, that's fine. Even as we start moving to events throughout the summer, I don't think we're really at a space where we're comfortable doing a Gen Con again with 60, 70,000 people. But we have had the thought before about people having con crud, right? We know when you go to events for a weekend and you're around a bunch of people shaking hands, playing games, doing all that stuff, people get sick. It's a known thing. It's why we have a thing called the con crud, because it's real. And I've seen it happen to gamers. I've seen it happen to business people. I've seen it happen to actually even health professionals that have gone to events. So it's probably a thing we should be doing anyway. Sanitizing and wearing masks. It'll probably keep a lot of us from getting sick. I know I already used sanitizer before and I never caught the con crud, but lots of people in my same groups that were doing the same activities ended up getting sick. So there's something to that. I don't know what. I'm not a scientist, but I will tell you on my podcast, Color of Magic, we did actually have an epidemiologist on and we talked about the pandemic in regards to gaming and whatnot. And he even brought up the fact that we had a lot of people not get sick from other basic things over the last year because people have been wearing masks and distancing. So there is positive coming from this. Even if we're not worried about COVID, there's other things we can protect ourselves from. So just a different thing to think about. Now, another interesting thing I wanted to bring up here is that people have been talking about, like, Wizards of the Coast is just trying to kill off game stores and destroy retailers, and it goes on and on and on. But that's just patently not true. I mean, I brought it up before that if Wizards wanted the stores to go away, well, a bunch of the ones that were bad to mediocre, they would be gone already. They could have just let them flounder and flap in the wind during the pandemic and just fend for themselves. But instead, they printed a lot of mystery boosters and just sent those out for free. Literally a few $1 million worth of product they just gave away just to let retailers have something else that was hot at the time to be able to sell. They also printed a bunch of tokens. Well, not just tokens, they printed actual cards. And they sent those new promos to retailers to encourage people to go make purchases. That's a way to help them. They didn't have to do that either. And I can tell you, I've seen those budgets before. Those aren't cheap. If they wanted them to go away, they would have went away. But the fact that they're also following all these different stories and guidelines and everything else, they're staying on top of it and they're slowly opening up different regions as the local scenes, I guess, get better. So if you lived in Asia or Australia and some of these other places, you've already been able to play Magic. But obviously, a lot of us have not been able to. Well, Wizards is making that a thing now. And that means they're paying attention. And they do care about retail health. As a matter of fact, they're even printing a promo of Fable Passage, which looks wonderful, that if you shop and spend $50 or more at your local retailer, you're just going to get a cool card just as a bonus. So that's actually really cool that they're even doing that. Like, they've already did stuff last summer to help, and now they're doing another thing. And then they've already said, even later, they're going to send out a bunch of convention edition mystery boosters, which are the expensive ones that have the extra, like, playtest cards and stuff. And they're going to send those to retailers to sell. That's a thing they're not printing more of. They're not just putting it out everywhere. They're sending it exclusively to retailers from the sounds of the announcement. So again, if they wanted the retailers to go away, they wouldn't be doing things that just help prop up the retailers and give them more stuff and more money, right? That just doesn't make sense. Now, is every decision they made, like, fully in favor of the retailer? Well, no. Like, that much we can admit to and have that conversation. But just the fact that they're trying to destroy them and get rid of them, that's a narrative we have to push to the wayside. We can talk about other ways they could do more to support them or other ways they could not do other things. That's fine. But to just say they want them to go away just doesn't make sense. And I think this announcement reinforces that. But let's look at the general positivity here. I'm pretty amped up about getting back to playing in our game stores again. Even if it's just with our small local group on a Friday night and playing a 12, 16 person event, getting a BS around on a Saturday and play some standard, maybe get back to winning some of those prize boosters, which, by the way, I have a whole different opinion on the prize boosters. That'll probably be a separate video down the road. But even just getting to hang out and play again and have use these cards I bought for the last year. And, you know, I buy collections, and one of the things I like to do is to give away the commons or the deck boxes I don't need or whatever. And those have stockpiled, so hopefully there's all these new people who've picked up Arena and want to play paper Magic now, and I can help them get started, right? That'd be a fun thing to do. There's like so many things we've missed over the last year that, you know, you don't really think about until it's not a possibility. As silly as that sounds, it's just like, cool, every Friday or every Saturday or whatever, you know, you do your Wednesday night booster drafts or whatever, and you just go do it. And then when it's taken away, you're kind of like, man, that was a real part of my routine. So it's kind of wild to really have gotten used to a world where that's not a thing to reintroduce it. And then now I'm wondering, like, is it going to feel different? Do I see the same people? Are there new faces? Did the old guard just quit playing? You know, like, I don't know, like, are things that we learned to do in Arena going to be more difficult in paper because Arena's not making the decisions for us, right? Or reminding us to trigger something. Like there's so many things, right? There are cards literally I have not shuffled up, played with once in standard that I've played with hundreds of times in Arena, but I haven't done it in paper, right? So it's just like such a weird world we're going to be in. And then I have this other thought that previous to the pandemic, I actually had a bunch of people that I knew personally because that's how I met everyone. I was either playing in events or running events or helping with programs or whatever. And now I have a bunch of people that know me that I've never met because I have the YouTube channel. I did a bunch of commentary. We have a podcast. That all happened in the last year and a half, and most of that was during the pandemic. So now I have to question, like, how's that going to be? Having people come up and be like, dude, I watch your stuff. Or the other side of that is nobody comes up and says, dude, I watch your stuff. Like, it's going to be a weird time. But either way, I thought overall this was really good news. I thought it was a fun announcement. The cards they showed off were neat. We can probably talk about that in another video. But I kind of wanted to start the conversation of just how do you feel about finally getting back to your local game stores? Is your local game store even still open? Or have you started talking to other people that are looking to attend? I'm really curious what everybody's local environment is going to be like, or what everybody's looking forward to or not going into this new world of organized play, because it's definitely going to look different. Just don't know if it's going to feel different. But remember, if you haven't, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. All that stuff really helps out so much. And again, leave a comment. Let me know how you feel about this announcement and what's going on. Or if you're in a place where you can or can't, or if you've already been able to play, kind of what has that been like for you while everybody else hasn't been? Because that's a different conversation too. But anyway, hit up my Discord if you want to follow this as well. But as always, that's all I have for you for now. We'll see you next time.